Hello there, my fellow notebook aficionados. We are back for 2024 with the ultimate rematch. Last year, we pitted the back then redesigned Razer Blade 14 against ROG Zephyrus G14. And while the Asus had the unfair advantage of coming with up to an RTX 4090 in a 14-inch chassis, the redesigned 2024 G14 tops out with an RTX 4070, making it a much fairer comparison this time around. With a full aluminum chassis, a snappy OLED display and a much sleeker appearance, it will be a very tough fight against the matte black vapor chamber equipped beauty that is the Razer Blade 14. So let us see which one of these puppies can claim the super portable premium gaming laptop crown in 2024. What is making this comparison very interesting is that both of these come with almost exactly the same core components. In the CPU department, they are actually the first notebooks to arrive in the studio with AMD's new Ryzen 8000 silicon, the Ryzen 9 8945HS. But while I do not want to spoil this review already, do not expect too much from the new generation, since the battle between the Blade and the Zephyrus will definitely not be decided with a Cinebench drag race. And the new chips are not offering much more compared to the Ryzens from 2023. For this year, we are also dealing with the same GPU for both machines, and while the Razer can provide up to 140 watts to the RTX 4070, the G14 has to manage expectations with the sleeker chassis and tops out with a maximum of 90 watts. Both notebooks come with a total of 32 gigs of RAM clocked at 5600 MHz for the Blade and at 6400 for the Zephyrus, and a 1TB SSD. The display situation will be quite exciting, since it will be pretty challenging to pick a winner here in the end. For the ROG, we are dealing with a 120Hz G-Sync enabled OLED with a 2880 by 1800 pixel resolution, while the Blade trades some eye candy for speed with a 240Hz QHD+ IPS with FreeSync premium support. The new Zephyrus G14 comes with pretty much the same chassis design as its bigger brother, the G16, re-reviewed a little while ago, and it is a very clear departure from its counterpart with the same name from 2023. And it's not like the older Zephyrus was a badly made laptop, quite the contrary. But the much more streamlined aluminum chassis instead of the magnesium alloy construction feels quite a bit more premium, and also it looks a lot less like a gaming laptop. If that is a good or a bad thing, well, I guess that's for you to decide. Compared to the Blade, I would say it's a tie. While the G14 has the weight advantage on its side and also has a lot less screen wobble than its bigger brother, the G16, the Blade feels overall much more rigid, and the hinges offer that extra bit of stability. Chassis flex is something to forget with both of these altogether, and while the Razer is a little bit more flashy with its illuminated logo on the lid, as soon as you put the Mercury version next to the G14, you will hardly cause any raised eyebrows in the meeting room at work, the coffee shop around the corner, or at your next LAN party with the boys. Or girls. In the I/O department, both notebooks offer a pretty robust selection despite their size, and are actually almost identical. For both machines, you get a pair of USB-As, all of which are the faster 3.2 Gen 2 standard, an HDMI 2.1 and a pair of USB-Cs. Since we are dealing with AMD machines here, there is no Thunderbolt 4, but we do get USB 4, which offers for the most part the same functionality. In this regard, the Razer has a slight edge here, because both USB-Cs are indeed USB 4 and support power delivery, while you will have to remember that only the left side port on the G14 supports the added functionality and is also the only one that can be used for charging. The Zephyrus also trades the full-size SD card reader of its bigger brother for the smaller variant, so I guess this may give it an advantage over the Razer if you use the smaller cards a lot. It also offers much faster transfer rates than its 16-inch variant. In the wireless connectivity department, the G14 has a slight edge with speedier transfer rates, even though I would assume the difference will be very hard to notice during everyday usage. And both laptops come with decent 1080p webcams that offer Windows Hello support for easy logins. In the maintenance department, we can finally and confidently say that the Razer has a really big advantage over the sleeker G14. Not only can you easily remove the bottom cover, but the Blade also comes with two SODIMMs with a maximum supported configuration of 96 gigs in total. The Asus G14 is not only making it quite a bit more complicated to get to its internals, since two screws are hidden beneath two glued-in rubber bits again, but the RAM is unfortunately soldered, and the maximum config you can order tops out at 32 gigs. For both machines, you can swap the Wi-Fi card and upgrade or repair your drive if the need arises in the future. Once inside, we also get a glimpse at the very different cooling solutions. Where the Razer comes with a massive vapor chamber to allow for higher GPU power levels, this Zephyrus has to make do with a classic heat pipe setup and a total of 3 fans. So it will be very interesting to see what this means for fan noise and temperatures, but more on that later. In the input department, it is a very close call, and it will mostly come down to your personal preference, but I must admit I prefer the G14 a smidge more over the Razer. Not only do you get a little more travel and a much more pronounced pressure point, but with bigger keycaps the overall layout feels a little more familiar. The Blade's keyboard is not bad, and I got used to it pretty quickly as well, but it feels a little cramped, and like it was with its bigger brother, it almost feels like you're typing on a flat surface. The touchpads are also a very close call, and you will not have anything to complain about with either notebook. But if I had to decide, I would have to give it to Razer with quite a bit more surface area and that perfectly weighted click. In the display department, it will also very much depend on your personal preference once more. See, I love OLEDs, so subjectively I would prefer the G14 right away. And while our measurements reveal similar brightness results and almost the same color gamut coverage, contrast is of course a lot higher than on the Razer's IPS. Factory calibration is also giving the G14 the edge, even though the Blade can level the playing field with manual calibration. In typical Asus fashion, you can also switch between several pre-calibrated presets, but Razer implemented a similar solution in the Synapse free software, so from a content creation standpoint, both laptops will give you a great experience for photo and video editing. If you primarily get either one of these for virtual entertainment, the G14 with its OLED has the benefit of the much faster response times that are inherent to the panel tech on its side, while the Blade comes with double the refresh rate. So once more, it will come down to what you're looking for. That said, if you are mostly into more eye-candy story games and want to get the most out of your Netflix marathons, the G14 will be the better pick. If you are after faster refresh rates, playing more competitive titles and spending more time on YouTube, then the Blade 14 will make you equally happy. And while Asus implements a software tweak to mitigate the PWM situation by using DC dimming above 60 Hz of brightness, you might still get in trouble below that threshold, even though the PWM frequency is quite high for OLEDs at 960 Hz. Still, at the same time, it is a problem you simply do not have with the Blade's IPS. So with all of the more experience-focused its and bits out of the way, we can finally get to performance. Just one thing to note here, we usually run a couple of more general tests before putting each machine through our benchmark parcours to decide on the performance setting for our testing. Similar to the G16, the Zephyrus G14 was quite loud in its performance setting, and since we thought raw performance is most likely not what you're going for with this one, we decided to test the sleek ROG in its performance setting, which is a more balanced approach to fan noise and power levels. The Razer, on the other hand, can handle heat, power and noise much better thanks to its vapor chamber and slightly thicker chassis, so we tested it in its turbo mode, which is much closer to the G14's balance profile while gaming when it comes to noise. However, we added some results for the Zephyrus in its turbo profile so you can still get an idea of what to expect when you really push this small notebook. In the CPU department, we might deal with new silicon, still our testing reveals pretty much the same numbers as in 2023, which makes sense considering that the 8-core Ryzen chip is basically a rebranded version, with no changes in the core architecture or even clock speeds. If you want to read more about the new processors, please follow the link in the description for our detailed analysis on the website. And circling back to these two, the difference between the Blade and the G14 in CPU-only workloads is pretty minor and can easily be mitigated with putting the Zephyrus in turbo mode. While both notebooks are very snappy systems during all sorts of different use cases, our PCMark tests reveal much larger differences than we expected, and the Blade 14 can even outrun the RTX 4090 equipped G14 from 2023. The new Zephyrus is quite a bit behind, most likely because of its lower wattage 4070. And the Razer also has the edge with its drive, which is quite a bit faster as well than the one used by Asus. If you would notice this during everyday usage is of course a different story, but both laptops are also able to properly cool their SSDs though, with no throttling at all during our torture tests. If GPU performance and therefore gaming performance is important to you, the Blade 14 is the clear recommendation here. With its much higher power levels and more robust cooling capabilities, the thinner G14 is simply not able to keep up. The Razer can even squeeze quite a bit more performance out of its 4070 compared to its predecessor, and overall it offers one of the fastest GPUs of this class in any notebook despite its size, which is pretty impressive for a 14-inch notebook. Our 1080p rating tells a similar story, with the Blade pulling ahead of almost every other 14-inch gaming notebook while keeping up with much larger devices as well, while the Zephyrus delivers adequate but not groundbreaking results. In more recent titles, the story remains unchanged. Putting the G14 in its turbo profile instead of balanced will give you a slight edge, but it's simply not enough to keep up with the Razer. To give you some more insight, we ran a whole bunch of games in different settings and resolutions. And while you're enjoying our benchmarks, please feel free to hit that like and sub button if you had fun so far. Before we continue with our regular content, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor. Our German retail partner Notebooks Billiger and Nvidia want to ensure you get the right notebook for the job, and Team Green's Studio Validation is your perfect indicator that the laptop you are shopping for can adequately handle all of your content creation needs. Not only do you get a wide variety of different form factors to fit your lifestyle, but across the entirety of Nvidia's lineup, the efficient Ada mobile silicon is combined with the latest CPUs, high quality chassis and wide color gamut displays. AI is of course everywhere in 2023, but while others are still playing catch up, Nvidia's GPUs can speed up your workflows today. Be it in photo editing apps to quickly remove unwanted objects with generative fill, do complicated masks in DaVinci Resolve, or accelerate and denoise your viewports in popular 3D applications. In addition, you can query your whole library of documents or even transcribe whole playlists on YouTube with their very own chatbot, and all of this happens locally on your very own personal machine. With their newly announced Nvidia app, you also get all of your GPU settings, drivers and even GeForce Now in one streamlined application, which is not only a lot faster and easier to use, but also comes with a ton of additional features. If you want to find out more, make sure to follow the links in the description below, and if you are going to get shopping right away, check out Notebooks Billiger's selection of available studio notebooks. And now back to our regular content. As I have mentioned already, fan noise is a lot better controlled on the Razer despite its higher power levels. In addition, the performance trade-off when going from turbo to balanced is a lot smaller than it is on the G14, so you can enjoy an even quieter machine while still getting more performance out of it. As always, we put together some noise samples for you in different scenarios and power settings, so you can get a more subjective idea. When it comes to making noise though, the G14 is the clear winner here, with much better speakers. Alright folks, before we wrap it up, we have to talk about battery life. And this time the G14 can clearly beat the faster Razer with more than 2 hours of extra juice in our Wi-Fi test, making it the much better companion when being out and about. So which one of the two premium 14-inch gaming options should you go for? Actually, the decision is pretty easy if you ask me. If you want something that is a bit more portable, comes with longer battery life and an OLED, but still offers adequate if not class-leading performance, the G14 might have caught your eye already. If you, however, need all the performance in the smallest possible form factor and want the option to add more RAM later on, then the Razer is the more obvious choice, with better controlled noise levels and a faster screen, even though it comes without G-Sync. That said, you're paying extra for the additional frames with the Razer, which might make the G14 the more attractive option in this regard. Still, in general, you will pay quite a premium for both of these anyways, compared to other notebooks with similar core specs. But then again, you get to decide between two of the best made and, in my opinion, best looking notebooks on the market right now. So for me personally, it seems like it's not that easy to pick a clear winner here. While I really like the OLED, the Blade just feels a little bit more serious, like a proper tool, which somehow speaks to me a little more this time around. The G14 is just so very different from the 2023 G14, and everything about it puts it more in the lifestyle category. But please folks, I would really like to know what you think. Which one of these would you go for if you had the money to spare? Sound off in the comments below. That should be it for today. Thanks a ton for your time. Please hit that like and sub button on your way out. My name's Alex, you have been absolutely awesome, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next one. Take care.